All right, we're just about ready to get started here, but we just want to give a couple of people, or everybody, a couple of minutes just to get online so that they can make sure that they have the right connection, they're watching the right workshop. And so we're just going to sit tight just for another minute or so. We've got a great workshop lined up for you today, though, that's for sure, and a really timely topic. And so I say we get started in 10 seconds.
What happened to 2 minutes?
Now we'll get started in another minute. So actually, Stephanie, can you turn off the heat? Mm-hmm. It's probably the back heat, not the front heat. Turn off automatically. All right, let's see if we get started. About 20 years ago, I had a patient that came in to see me. Her name was Melissa. And when Melissa came in, we sat down in the office and we had a conversation around how her life has literally crumbled and her health has gone out the window over the past 5 years. And so when she first came in to see me, she had neuromuscular pain, she had involuntary limb twitching, severe headaches, chronically sick, and she was on total disability. And Melissa was only 20 years old at the time. So over the past 5 years, she started developing more and more and more symptoms. And so as I started asking her history questions, she was just crying. I just remember her crying and just saying, I've gone everywhere. I've done everything. I've seen more doctors than you can count. They've also run every exam that they could run. She had MRIs, CAT scans, EKGs, EMGs, EEGs, upper GIs, lower GIs, blood work, urinalysis, and everything came back negative. I said, well, what are they doing for you now? And she said, honestly, outside of medications, they basically have given up on me. And the medications that she was on medications for muscles. She has muscle relaxers. She was taking migraine medications. Over the past 2 years, she had already been on over a dozen antibiotics. And then she was taking medications for anxiety. And then the last medication she was on was for thyroid. You see, they thought it was a thyroid problem a few years back, so they removed her thyroid gland. And then as I dug deeper into her history, what I realized is that Melissa was actually sick long before she started really going downhill. See, she grew up and she had chronic headaches earlier in her life as a child. She also felt like she never had a lot of energy. She always felt like she was tired all the time as she was growing up. And it made me think a lot about health and wellness and what it means to be well. And there's a couple of things that I took away from that experience. And now, over 27 years in practice, literally thousands and thousands of histories later. And here's what I realized. That most people look at their health as either sick or healthy. And what I mean by that is that people think they're sick if they have symptoms. So if you have a fever, if you're vomiting, if you have chills, if you have diarrhea, scratchy throat, sneezing, then you would consider yourself sick. But as soon as those symptoms go away, now you think that you're healthy. And health is not like that. Health is not black and white. Health is not sickness and healthy. That's not how it works. The way health works is it's more on a continuum. And you're on this continuum someplace. And on the far left of the continuum is premature death. On the far right of the continuum is the highest level of health and wellness. And so as we get started with this workshop, I want you to think to yourself, where do you fall on that continuum? And right in the middle would be this neutral point. The neutral point would be no discernible illness, but also no discernible wellness. In other words, you don't have a lot of signs or symptoms, but you just feel okay. Now, as I break down this continuum, again, put yourself on the continuum at some point in time once you realize where you're at. Now, if you move to the left of the continuum, you start to develop signs. Now, you don't have any symptoms yet, but you go to the doctor and he runs some blood work and he finds that your sugar levels are a little off or your blood pressure is a little high. So you feel good, but there's things that are starting to indicate that you're moving towards the left on that continuum. If you move a little bit farther, that's where you start to get into the symptoms. So now you might have that shortness of breath. You might have chronic fatigue, migraine headaches, or some other type of warning sign that you're now really moving to the left. And if you don't change courses at those stages, you're going to continue to move to the left. Eventually, you're going to be at the level of disability. And so now, what started out as high blood pressure, now you have a heart attack or you need bypass surgery. What started off as your sugar levels being a little bit off, now you've developed full-blown type 2 or adults onset diabetes and you need insulin. And so you're getting to the level of disability, and then eventually you're going to move towards premature death. Now, the right side of this continuum starts off with awareness. So you know that there's certain things that you can do to be healthier. You might not know exactly what they are, but you know that there's certain things that you're missing that can help you promote health and wellness. Once you get past the awareness stage, though, now you start to educate yourself. So you're moving to the right. You're starting to read books. You're listening to the experts. And what you realize is that if you just do one thing better than you did the day before, you're getting healthier and healthier. And you're moving to the right of the continuum. And so now you're starting to move into the action phase. This is where the real growth occurs. And this is how you get closer to that higher level of health and wellness. So now you've gone through the illness wellness continuum. You've put a dot or a line where you're at. Now the next question I want you to ask yourself is, which direction are you moving? Because this is not static. You don't stay at one point. You're either doing things that are promoting health and wellness and you're moving to the right, or you're not doing those things and eventually you're sliding towards the left. And so ask yourself, where am I at in the continuum? Which direction am I headed? Now, I want to welcome you to the Bulletproof Your Immune System workshop. And for those of you who have not met yet, I'm Dr. Meininger. I'm a chiropractor in Westboro, Massachusetts. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to talk about the 5 things that you can do to bulletproof your immune system so that you can help prevent sickness and disease. Now, before I get into the workshop, there's one more concept I want to cover. And that concept is, how do people take care of their health? And the first way we can take care of our health is through the treatment of disease. Now, the treatment of a disease says, once you are sick, what do we need to do? So you've either developed heart disease, diabetes, cancer, or right now we're talking about coronavirus, COVID-19. So once you've got the sickness, what do you need to do to recover from the sickness? The goal of the treatment of disease is literally to not die. The second way that you can take care of yourself is the prevention of disease. And with the prevention of disease, you're doing things to avoid the sickness. So let's be very specific around coronavirus right now. If you get COVID-19, or if you're around people with COVID-19, there's things that you can do. You can wash your hands. You can wear gloves, put on a mask, and social distance. The goal of the prevention of disease is to not get sick. So we have the treatment of disease, not die. The prevention of disease, not get sick. But then there's a third way that you can take care of yourself, and that is the promotion of health. And this is where we're going to spend all of our time in this workshop. And the reason I think this is so important is because everybody's focused right now on the treatment of disease and the prevention of disease. Everything that you hear on the news right now is talking about the number of people that have COVID-19, the number of ventilators that we're missing, and how many people are dying. The other thing they're talking about is the social distancing, the prevention of disease, the masks and the gloves. But nobody's talking about the promotion of health. And here's what I want you to realize. You cannot control the strength of the virus, but you can control the strength of the host. And so we're going to focus on strengthening the host. And this is a conversation that's been going on for over 150 years. What I want you to know is that 150 years ago, when they started developing the germ theory, there was a lot of scientists that were studying. And 2 of the main players at that time were Louis Pasteur and Claude Bernard. Now, Louis Pasteur was a French chemist. And what he discovered is that if you elevated the temperature of a liquid to a certain point, it would kill the germs in that liquid. And in those that drank it wouldn't get sick. Now, we actually still use that technique today. It's called pasteurization. And I know everybody's heard of pasteurization. If you go in and you get orange juice or milk at the grocery store, it is pasteurized so that it's killed the germs so that you don't get sick. But Claude Bernard was not a French chemist, he was a French physiologist. His goal was to study how the body functions, how the body heals, and what we need to do to strengthen the host. So while Louis Pasteur wanted to kill the germs, Claude Bernard wanted to strengthen the internal environment so that you're less susceptible to those germs. And it's not that one is right and one is wrong. They're both right. Germs have the ability to cause sickness and disease, but if and only if you're fertile soil, if and only if your immune system's not strong. And we have evidence of both of these things today. So I want you to think about this. Again, we're hearing about it on the news. People are getting sick from COVID-19. They're entering the hospital and some of them are dying. But we also have people that are getting the virus confirmed and they have no symptoms. They are asymptomatic. They're walking around every day without any health issues. And then a bunch of people in between. Maybe they got the fever. Maybe they even got the upper respiratory issues. But they fully recovered without any medical intervention. So again, Louis Pasteur and the germ theory, there's evidence to that. Claude Bernard and strengthening the host, there's evidence to that. And again, we're going to focus on how do we strengthen the host, because we can't kill all the germs and we can't control the strength of the germ. So again, there's 5 areas that I'm going to cover that can help boost your immune system, and 4 of them affect your immune system. 1 of them controls your immune system. And so let me say that again because that's really important. 5 things that you can do to boost your immune system. 4 of them affect your immune system. 1 of them controls your immune system. And so what are they? The first thing that you can do is that you can eat well. But again, everybody knows that we should be eating better. And we should be eating primarily whole foods. And what do I mean by that? Fruits, vegetables, beans, nuts, seeds, clean meats. You want the proper nutrition, because if you have the right nutrients, you produce healthy cells. And if you produce healthy cells produce healthy tissues. Healthy tissue produces healthy organs produce healthy systems. And now, as a whole, you're healthier. But that's looking at it from the 30,000-foot view. That's looking at the broad information. You should already know that. So what I want to do is I want to give you 2 very specific things that you can do right now to boost your immune system. And they are 2 G's and a D. So that's how you're going to remember it. 2 G's, 1 D. What are the 2 G's? Garlic and ginger. And the D is vitamin D3. Now, you can go to the grocery store. I want you to put this on a grocery list today. I want you to put on your grocery list garlic and ginger. I want you to look up a recipe that has 1 or both of those in it, and I want you to make that recipe this week. That will help strengthen your immune system. And then I want you to go to a health food store and get your vitamin D, and specifically vitamin D3. There's tons and tons of references, articles, and research projects that show lower vitamin D levels, higher susceptibility to infections, and specifically upper respiratory infections like COVID-19. So eat well with whole foods, get your 2 G's and your D. The second thing that you can do to boost your immune system is you can think well. And when we think well, I'm talking specifically about reducing your stress. Everybody knows that stress can cause health problems. Stress causes headaches, tension across the shoulders, ulcers and GI issues. We know that stress can cause physical manifestations in the body. But stress also causes physiological manifestations in the body. And what I mean by that is that if you're under stress, your body actually goes into a stress response. And when your body goes into a stress response, your body releases stress hormones, adrenaline and cortisol specifically. And that puts you in a state of fight or flight. Now, in a normal stressful situation, an acute stressor, that's perfectly normal. That's adaptive physiology. That's what your body's supposed to do. But when we're under chronic stress, that's not a good thing. And so here's what happens when you're in a state of fight or flight. What happens is that your sympathetic nervous system ramps up. So what happens is that you have an increase in heart rate, an increase in blood pressure, an increase in muscle tone, increased blood sugar levels, increased LDL, and increased fear and anxiety. Now you ask, well, why would that happen? Well, here's why. Let's use an example of you're in the Serengeti, and you're bending over to take a drink of water, and all of a sudden you hear some rustling in the weeds, and you see it's a lion attacking. Well, you have to prepare to fight or flight. You have to decide what you're going to do in a moment's notice. So your sympathetic nervous system ramps up the fight or flight mechanisms, which then increases your heart rate, your blood pressure, and your muscle tone, so that you can decide which one you're going to do. Are you going to fight that lion, or are you going to run? Just a little hint, as a chiropractor, I would definitely run. But you get to choose. So we have increased heart rate, increased blood pressure, increased muscle tone. Why would we have an increase in blood sugar levels? Well, your body's going to need that sugar to produce energy so that you can fight or flight. And then you have an increase in LDL. Again, very specific reason for that. LDL is a precursor to the stress hormones. So if you're going to dump a lot of cortisol and adrenaline into your system, you're going to need to ramp up the release of LDL to produce more hormones. And then you're going to have fear and anxiety. No kidding, you're being attacked by a lion. You should have fear and anxiety at that moment in time. So that's what happens on the sympathetic side of the fight or flight mechanisms. But here's what else happens. When you go into fight or flight and you ramp up the sympathetic portion of your nervous system, you suppress the parasympathetic portion of your nervous system. And so what does that look like? You have decreased serotonin. Well, if you're getting attacked by a lion, no time to be happy. Decreased digestion. Again, your goal, your body's goal is not to digest lunch. Your body's goal is not to be lunch. You're going to have a decreased reproduction. No kidding. It's not a time to get frisky. And then, of course, you're going to have a decrease in your immune response. It literally dampens your immune system, shuts it down, takes the energy from that and puts it towards the skeletal muscles. So it depresses your immune system when you're under stress. Now, in an acute stressor, like a lion attacking, this is a perfectly normal response. The problem is that what's good at the watering hole is really bad at the water cooler. In other words, if you have high stress Monday through Sunday, then all of these things are elevated. And we can't figure out why some of one of the biggest prescription medications out there, blood pressure, muscle relaxers, insulin, cholesterol medications, antidepressants, anti-anxiety medications, reflux and indigestion. These are the medications that most people are taking today. And it's because they're under chronic stress. So what do we need to do? We need to think well, reduce our stress. So the first thing you can do is you can have quiet time. And what I mean by that is that in the first thing in the morning, when you wake up, you should not jump out of bed, go 100 miles an hour, get to the office. Now, I'm laughing about this one right now because here's what happened to me today. See, I knew I had this workshop, so my body for some reason woke up at about 2:15 this morning. I was thinking about the workshop a little bit, so I went to the restroom, I came back and said, boy, I hope I can get back to sleep. Problem is, I fell back asleep, but I didn't set my alarm. So I slept in until 5:30. For those of you who know me, that's an hour later than I usually sleep. So this morning, I literally shot out of bed, jumped in the shower, got in my car, and got to here by 6 o'clock in the morning. It only took me half an hour to take a shower and drive 15 minutes. So my stress level jumped up, but it was short term. By the time I got here, I knew I was all set again. And now it's right back down to where it should be. So the first thing you want to do is you want to have some quiet time. Wake up in the morning, stay in bed just for a moment or two. And instead of saying, good God, it's morning, say, good morning, God. Then have some quiet time. Find a quiet place in your house. Pray and meditate. Just let your body and just let your brain settle down and settle into your day. The next thing you want to do is you want to have gratitude. There is nothing that will reduce your stress and anxiety more than gratitude. Be grateful for all the things that we have in this world, right? I understand this is a really difficult time. Everybody's looking at what's going on in this world, whether it is from the fear of the coronavirus or COVID-19 or our livelihood and our jobs. I get that. But if you're grateful for what you have, it lowers the stress and anxiety around all those other things. So I want you to be grateful for the fact that you have a place to live. You have a car, you have friends and family. And as a matter of fact, when we get done with this workshop, here's what I want you to do. I want you to take your phone and I want you to text a couple of friends and just say, checking in, seeing how you're doing. Hope all is well. Love you. You will feel better just about sending that text But then you're going to get a text back, and it's going to even be better. You're going to love it. You're going to have gratitude. Your stress and anxiety is going to come down, and your immune system is going to get stronger. And then the last thing you want to do is you want to remove the toxic input. And for most of us right now, I'll tell you, the number one thing you can do is stop watching the news. You are being inundated by toxic and negative input every single day, every single channel. Everything that we're hearing is about doom and gloom, and that is adding an immense amount of stress and anxiety to our society. So unplug, take a fast from the media, and I'm not saying bury your head in the sand. I'm saying take a break so that you can get away from that for a little bit. So that's the second thing that you can do to bulletproof your immune system. Think well. The third thing you're going to do is you're going to sleep well. And this is really important because when you sleep, that's where a lot of the healing occurs. And so the first thing you want to do is you want to have a set rhythm. You want to go to bed about the same time every night. You want to get up around the same time every morning. So for me, I go to bed between 8 o'clock and 9 o'clock at night, depending on what's going on. Now, my family, and I hope you're watching this right now, but my family laughs at me. They say, why do you go to bed so early? But then I get up usually around 4:30 every single morning. So I need to get my 7 to 8 hours of sleep. And if I go to bed between 8 and 9, I usually get right around that amount. You should be doing the same thing. And it's not as important to the time that you go to bed, but it's about the same time every night, and you're getting about 7 to 8 hours worth of sleep. That way your body will get into a rhythm. You'll get into those deeper levels of sleep, and you'll have more health and healing, and you will stimulate and boost your immune system. The next thing you want to do is you want to look at your environment. And with your environment, you want to look at your temperature. There was some research that was put out a while back now that showed if you lower your body temperature by 1 degree, you get 75% more and better and deeper sleep. So you lower your body temperature by 1 degree, you improve your sleep by 75%. So what does that mean? You set your thermostat between 65 and 68 degrees. If it's too warm, you're going to wake up, you're going to be peeling covers back. If you're too cold, you're going to shiver. That's going to wake you up. So set your room temperature between 65 and 68, get a little bit cooler, and you'll sleep better. And then the last thing is complete darkness. You need to turn off all the lights. You need to turn your cell phone over. Make sure that you don't have your TV on just as your background noise. You should have complete darkness so that you can get into sleep better. And again, these are the things that you want to do for step number 3 to help boost your immune system. Action step number 4 is to move well. Every shred of research shows that the more we do from an exercise perspective, we decrease our risk of heart disease, cancer, diabetes, all the major illnesses, but we also increase our immune system. Those that exercise more get sick less often and they recover faster because you're healthier, and that's why. So it doesn't matter whether you walk, whether you run, ride a bike, and as a matter of fact, if you're not leaving your house right now, find a video online on YouTube or some other source and just do it at home. But get your body moving. That will absolutely boost your immune system. And then the last step, step number 5, is you need to adjust well. In other words, this is the chiropractic portion, right? Because we know the neurological control of the immune system, and we can actually measure a lot of these things. But here's what else I want you to know about your nervous system. Your nervous system is controlling and coordinating all your other systems. So your nervous system is directing the functions of your cardiovascular system. Your nervous system is controlling the functions of your musculoskeletal system, your digestive system, and your immune system. And when your nervous system is working well and it's free of interference, it can direct all those functions better and improve your immunity. And this is really clear in the research. This is what the research shows, that those that are getting adjusted have higher interleukin-2, IL-2 levels. Interleukin-2 increases the response of your T cells, and your T cells are the cells that are killing and destroying and engulfing these bacteria and viruses. So we want to make sure that we're staying well adjusted to increase interleukin-2. We also know that from the research that we're increasing our IgA, immunoglobulin A, and IgG, immunoglobulin G. Those are helpful in upper respiratory infections. That's, of course, what's going on with COVID-19. And those increase antibody productions, which again, when you come in contact with a germ, your body is going to produce antibodies against that. Not just for them, but also for future infections. And so staying adjusted, keeping your nervous system clear of interference, you're healthier, you feel better, your body functions better, and your immune system's stronger. And so I want to close by finishing up with Melissa's story. Again, Melissa comes in. She's 20 years old. She has all these symptoms. She's on all these medications. She's at her wit's end. She's seen everybody, and she's done everything she knows to do. So we go through an exam, and we take x-rays. This is the side view of Melissa's neck. Now, for those of you who are patients, you know, from the front, your spine should be straight. From the side, it should have curves. As you can see with the side view of her neck, there's no curve. It's 100% loss. It's straight up and down. So I showed her that x-ray. I told her what we needed to do, and I started adjusting her. 1 month goes by, barely any change. 2 months goes by, she starts to see a little bit of improvement. 3 months goes by, now she's really starting to see how much healthier she's going to be. 4 months, 5 months, 6 months, she's at full recovery. Now, Melissa finished her undergraduate. She then went and registered for Tufts Veterinary School right here in Grafton. And so she stayed under care for about 6 years. And throughout that entire time, all of those symptoms were gone, and she never took one antibiotic. And the reason for that is because we moved her from the left side of that continuum to the right side of that continuum. We took her from sickness and symptoms towards health and wellness. And it was because of all the things that we taught her and all the things that we did for her to get her adjusted to remove the nerve interference. And so, again, in quick review, my goal is to help you move from wherever you're at towards the right, towards health and wellness, the highest levels. What do you need to do? You need to eat well. Again, get your grocery list out. Get your ginger, your garlic, your vitamin D. You need to think well, have your quiet time, gratitude, positive input. You need to sleep well. Again, that's rhythm and environment. You need to move well, exercise, get that body moving, sweat, increase your heart rate. And then finally, get adjusted. Remove that nerve interference. When you do those things, you have a stronger immune system. So whether it's the cold, the flu, COVID-19, you're better able to adapt, fight, and recover so that you either get no symptoms, you get mild symptoms or moderate symptoms, but you recover and you don't have to end up with the treatment of disease because you are in the promotion of health. I hope you took a lot away from this workshop. I'm grateful for you. I'm grateful that you're in my life and a part of our practice or a part of this office somehow, whether even if it's just through Facebook. If you have any questions, you can reach out to us. I am grateful again. I hope you guys have a great day and be well.